Hello students, welcome to Sourav's classes. So in today's video, we'll be solving a few questions from Msqe. As you know, it is the entrance exam for Masters in Economics, Quantitative Economics. So we'll be solving a few past year questions from Msqe. So here, as you can see, so first today we'll start with a question which is question number 1. So in question number 1 it is given, consider the following model of the economy. Here C is, which is consumption function, is given as C0 plus C1 YD. First we need to remember one thing, that is, so here as you can see, this is the consumption function where C0 is autonomous consumption. Here C0 is given as autonomous consumption. And C1 YD is given as C1 here is given as marginal propensity to consume, and YD is what? YD is disposable income. Disposable income means what? The income after tax. So this is the consumption function. Now beside the consumption function we have the tax function as well. Tax function is capital T. This is autonomous tax and this is the tax on income. And finally the disposable income part is explained as disposable income is basically Y minus T. So now from here what we can do, it is explained that C denotes consumption, C1 not is always greater than 0. That is, autonomous consumption is always greater than 0, and and this is C1, which is marginal propensity to consume, belongs to 0 to 1, and Y denotes the income, T denotes the taxes, YD denotes the disposable income. Here as you can see, the autonomous tax, which is T0, is greater than 0, and T1, which is the marginal propensity to taxation, is also greater than 0. Now we are assuming a closed economy. We know in closed economy the equation must be Y equals to C plus I plus J. So what is the difference between closed and open economy? In open economy there would have been another term which is NX, or which is known as net export. So net export is basically export minus import. But in case of closed economy this term won't be there. So we just have Y equals to C plus I plus G. Now it is also given government spending G, investment I are exogenously given, so which eventually means that G and I, they would be fixed or constant because they are exogenously given. So what we have to do is, first of all we have to interpret small t1. Small t1 means the marginal propensity to taxation, and we have to see whether is it greater or less than 1. So we have to see whether it is greater or less than 1. This is the first thing, and so we have to explain the answer. Then in the next problem we have to solve the equilibrium output of Y star, and finally we have to find the multiplier, and we have to see, does the economy respond more to changes in autonomous spending when T1 is 0 or when T1 is positive. So we have to see whether these three answer we have to find. So first of all we will start with the interpretation of T1. So we have to see whether it is greater than or less than 1. So for this allow me to insert a page, new page, where I will be doing it. So for the first of all we need to know, for question number 1, we know the equation is aggregate supply, which is denoted by Y, equals to C plus I bar plus G bar. Now here C is basically denoted by C naught plus C1 YD. As you can see, we have already mentioned that is consumption function is basically equals to C naught plus C1 YD, and I and G is constant, so we would simply write it. Rather, in the later part we would see it will get cancelled out. Now if you simply write the equation for disposable income, we know disposable income is basically the income minus tax. So if you use it, you will get the value to be equals to Y equals to C naught. Instead of YD, we can write Y minus T plus I bar plus G bar. Now if you further solve it, you will get it to be, now we will simply write it this way. We multiply C1 with Y, it will become C1Y, and if you multiply C1 with T, now instead of T we can put the value of T, which is given as T naught plus T1Y. We can see we can put the value of T, capital T, which is given as T naught plus T1Y. So for this we can simply write it as, instead of T we will write T naught plus T1Y, and we'll put the other things which are given, which is I bar and G bar. Now what we can do is, from here we'll denote it by 1. So this will denote it by equation 1. So this one will denote it by equation 1. So from here what we can see is that the small t, this part, the small t1, we can find this small t1. So for this, small t1 will be capital Y C1 minus, it will be capital Y C1 minus 1 plus C naught plus I plus G bar divided by C1Y. So how do we get it? We basically try to find this value. So for this what we have to do, we'll simply have to take this part on the left hand side. Suppose if you simplify this term, this equation, we'll do it here, you will get C naught plus C1Y. If you take this Y on the right hand side, it will become minus Y minus C1 T0 minus C1 T1Y, and finally we will be left with I bar and G bar. So this I bar and G bar will remain constant, and here we will have what? Here we will have 1. So now what we can do is, we can simply take this part here, because we have to find T1. So if you take this part here, it will become C T1Y or it will be C1 T1Y equals to, on the right hand side it will remain, then from here we can simplify it. If you take Y outside, it will become C1 minus 1, and from here it will become C1 T0, and we have already taken it on the right hand side, so it will be like this. So now what we can see is that the value of T1, if you take it here, it will be equals to Y into C1 minus 1, it will remain here, plus C naught plus I bar plus g bar. So it will simply become like this. So from there we have found the value of t1 to be like this. So from here what is our take is that at this level we know capital Y is basically greater than 0. So we know capital Y is what? Capital Y is greater than 0. Now we also know C0 is greater than 0. This is also greater than 0 because it is already given in the question. We know C1 lies between 0 to 1. This one lies between 0 to 1. And I bar and G bar, which are exogenously given, they are both greater than 0. So it is quite evident the numerator, which is this, is basically greater than 0. So the numerator is greater than 0, but it is always less than C1y. But it is always less than C1y. But the numerator is always less than C1y. So from this we can conclude the value of small t1. So the value of small t1 is basically less than 1. So the value of small t1 is basically less than 1. So this is how we have found the value of small t1. Now in the next section what we have to do, if you go back to the question again, in the question now we have to solve for the equilibrium output y star. So now we have to find y star. So now what we have to do is we'll simply have to find y star. So number 2, we'll have to find y star. How do we find y star? Now already we know basically y1 minus c1 1 minus t1 equals to c0 plus c1 t0 plus I bar plus G bar. So one question must arise, how do we get this equation? We basically get this equation from the equation 1 in the previous part of this sum, which was like y equals to C0 plus C1y minus C1 T0 plus T1y plus I bar plus G bar. So here, from here, what we can do is we can simply find this value. If you take this part C1, this part and this part on the left hand side, so it will basically become y minus C1y, and if you take minus, and this will become minus C1 T1y, and on the right hand side we will be left with C0, and it will become minus C1 T0 plus I bar plus G bar. So now what we can do is so one more thing we have to change is that this will be minus, as we can see it will be minus from here. So now the value of this will be, if you take y outside, it will be 1 from here, minus from here it will remain C1, and from here will remain plus C1 T1, which will be equals to C0 minus C1 T0 plus I bar plus G bar. Now if you further solve it, you will get it to be 1 minus, if you take C1 as common, you will get 1 minus T1, which will be equals to C0 minus C1 T0 plus I bar plus G bar. So this is how we get the entire thing here. So now here, if you look at, now if you further solve it, we'll get it to be equals to, or so from here you can find the value of y star which will be this, which is given as C0. So here we can find the value of y star, which will be this part, which is C0 minus C1 T0 plus I bar plus G bar divided by 1 minus C1 1 minus T1. So this will be the solution for option 2. Now we'll go to the last part of this question. In the last part it is given what is the multiplier. So it is given what is the multiplier. We have to find the multiplier first. First we have to find the multiplier. Then does the economy respond more to changes in autonomous spending such as C0, G bar and I when T1 is 0 or when T1 is positive? So we have to find out this answer as well. So for this, allow me to insert another page. So here in the third part we have to find the multiplier. So we have to get the tax multiplier. So we have to find the tax rate multiplier. So let us find the tax rate multiplier. So the tax rate multiplier, for this what we have to do is we have to differentiate the equation 1. If you remember the equation 1, I will be writing it down here. It was y equals to C0 plus C1y minus C1 T0 plus T1y plus I bar plus G bar So we have to differentiate this equation, which was equation 1, with respect to g. So we have to differentiate this equation with respect to g. So if you differentiate it with respect to g, we will get basically dy by dg, which will be equals to c1 dash, it will be dy by dg minus t1 dy by dg plus 1. Why? Because we know di bar will be 0 because I is exogenous, and dt change in t0, which is also constant, will be equals to 0. Now from here we can simply find the multiplier, which is dy by dg. It will be equals to 1 by 1 minus c1 hat 1 minus t1. So this is basically the multiplier. So how did we do it? For this, what we have to do is simply, as you can see, this was the equation. Now we have to differentiate this with respect to g. When you differentiate it with respect to g, you basically find c1 dash or let's not differentiate it with respect to g because g is also given. So as we are measuring tax rate multiplier, let us differentiate dy with respect to tax rate, which is given as t0. So let us differentiate it with respect to t0. So if you differentiate it with respect to t0, or say for an example t1, because that is the tax rate, from here you will get what? You will get change in dash y. So you will get dy by dt1 because it will be uv. Then it will be minus t1 dy by dg. So first this portion will keep t1 as, so we can simply keep So we'll differentiate this, so it will be 0, and we'll differentiate dy by dt1, and similarly we'll keep this as common and we'll differentiate dy by dg, and there will be plus 1 because these portions are basically 0. And now from here what we can do is we can simply find the value of dy by dt1, which is equals to, so tax rate multiplier, it will be dt1. So now from here, as you can see, it will basically be 1 by 1 minus c1, because if you differentiate y with respect to t1 you will get this. So from here we can find the multiplier, which is dy by dt1 as this. So now what we have to do is, we know if c naught, I bar and g bar they change, if c naught, I bar and g bar they change, then all will either increase or accelerate the income. If all of them change, then what will happen? Either it will increase or accelerate, the income. So from this we can conclude that. Now if you go back to the question paper again, in the question we have found the multiplier. Does the economy respond more to the changes in autonomous spending such as C naught, G naught and I bar when T is 0 or T is positive? So as you can see, when all will change, because it will increase or accelerate the income y. So I hope I've been able to answer this 3 questions. If you still have any query or doubt regarding this question, you can simply WhatsApp me on this number, which is 9836793076, or you can also go to our website, which is www.souravclassesclasses.com. It is given in the below section, or I can write it down, which is 9836793076, or you can also go to our website, as I have said, which is www.souravclassesclasses.com. There you will find a lot of other videos like this, and you will also get to see a lot of other materials which are needed for different entrance exam. So thank you for watching this video and have a nice day ahead.